How are you feeling today? Do you feel fulfilled in life? The show will begin in 4 minutes. Are you ready? When was the last time you felt betrayed? When was the last time you felt loved? The show will begin in 3 minutes. Are you ready? What did it feel like to be in love? What is the most painful part of being in love? The show will begin in 2 minutes. Are you ready? Are you ready to be transformed? Are you ready to make a change? The show will begin in 1 minute. I hope you're ready. The show will begin in exactly 30 seconds. Get ready. What if I told you you could talk to men and get them to give you anything you wanted? What if I also told you this strategy is so powerful, you don't even have to actually ask for anything because before you can, the men will already be offering their services to you. If you want to learn this life-changing strategy, then join me on today's show where we'll be discussing how to talk to men. That way you can become a seductive goddess who has men begging you to make you happy. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else in the live stream, please say here present so that I know you're here present and actively participating. So good to have all you beautiful people here. Now, you guys know today, on today's show, we aren't going to have the TikTok chat, but we do have the YouTube chat here. And hopefully some of those TikTok people have been able to migrate to the YouTube chat. It's only for today. Next week, we'll have the TikTok chat back because I'll have my new computer up and running. Today, it is ready for me right after the show, okay? Welcome all you in the beautiful YouTube chat. Who we got in here? We got Electric Feel is here, one of our OGs. Yana is here. Mary Kim is here. Matea is here. Ziana is here. Just Know is here. Kayla is here. Brittany is here. Let me scroll up here. We have Great Fortune Cookie, who was one of the first people here in our chat today. Welcome, Great Fortune Cookie. We have Tracy Nows. Welcome, one of our amazing channel members. Nicole Cottom, the most generous and most amazing Nicole and of our channel members here. We have Olga, one of our channel members here. We have Ivy, another one of our channel members here. We have Jazz, who is here. Okay, I don't think Ivy was here today. Ivy, were you here today? What were you doing? Henya, one of our amazing channel members is here. Mercedes, one of our amazing channel members is here. Welcome all you beautiful people. So good to see you, have you as part of the show. We're going to get started. Oh, let me shout out Null as well. Null is one of the biggest participators in the chat, so want to welcome her as well, okay? Let's get started with today. Today's Friday, so you know we like to have a little bit of fun. I know today's topic can sound a little bit vague, right? How to talk to men. What does that really mean? I know how to talk to men. I see a man, I say hello. That's how to talk to men. Well, today we're specializing in how to talk to men in a way that helps you get what you want from men, okay? And we're gonna obviously focus on the relationship side, but this really applies whether you're in a relationship with that man or whether you're in a situationship with that man or whether you just started dating that man, okay? I wanna give you some advice in helping you better understand how men think and how they operate so you can get what you want from them and you can get the action that you want from those men, okay? So we're gonna start with number one here. All right, so number one, we're gonna have a funny analogy for number one. Number one is the translation. Now, it's so important to understand that in everything that we're doing here, in understanding how to talk to men, we're doing this for a specific reason. I don't want you to think that this show is about me telling you what you should or shouldn't do. I know you want specific things from the men that you're dating. I know you want specific actions, and I know there are specific things that you want him to do in his relationship with you. So what I'm trying to do for you is help advise you on how you can position yourself and the way you can speak to him so that he takes the actions that you originally wanted him to do and he acts the way that you wanted him to act. So this is really a show about helping you get what you want, if you really think about it, all right? So let's start off with our translation here. So let's imagine a scenario in which you are here and the man is here and you speak English and the man that you're on a date with, let's just say, speaks Spanish, okay? And you're on this date and you're enjoying your time with him. And so in the process of you enjoying this date so much, you ask him a very important question that you want him to take some action on. You say, can you kiss me? Okay, right? And you say this in English. Obviously, you're on a date, let's just say hypothetically, this man that you're on a date with, he doesn't speak a lot of English. He solely speaks Spanish, Espanol. Hola, señorita, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Tomisin, okay? For those of you that speak Espanol, right? And so when you say, can you kiss me in English, he says, huh? I think the correct saying is, ¿y tú? Is that how you say it in Spanish? I don't know, all right? Whether it's Spanish or French. I know some French what would it be in French? Bonjour, mes amis. Parlez du français. Right? De français, whatever. You get my point. Anyway, so Spanish. And so he's going to say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And no matter how many times you yell it, can you kiss me? I really would like you to kiss me. I really, really would love for you to lean in and kiss me. I'm enjoying this date. You're so good looking and you're so handsome. I want you to kiss me on this date. But the problem is, if he doesn't speak English, no matter how many times you repeat, can you kiss me? No matter how many times you yell and scream, can you please kiss me? This is so frustrating. My hoo-ha is drying up, okay? No matter how many times you try to let him know how you feel, because you're speaking a language that he doesn't speak, this isn't going to work. He's never going to understand how you feel. He's never going to know what you want, and he's never going to know how to take action on your own desires. Okay? Does that make sense? The reason I'm giving you this example is because it's the same thing emotionally in your relationships and how you talk to men. You have to first understand what are the most important things to men and how do they receive information, so that when you deliver that information, you actually end up getting the action that you want out of the situation. Because similar in this scenario here, you're asking of him something, an action that you want him to give you and show you. But if he doesn't understand the language that you're speaking, it doesn't matter how you ask or how many times you ask for that thing. So the same thing in your relationships. You might want a guy to give you princess treatment. You might want a guy to take the relationship seriously. You might want a guy to schedule and plan dates. But it doesn't matter if the way that you're communicating with him is not in line with the way that he's going to receive that information, decode that information, and then take action on that information. We want to figure out, how can you get the men to understand you by speaking their language? Does that make sense to you guys so far, right? We want to kind of translate everything that you're doing to the language of the men so that they can take action on it as you want them to take action on it. I'm thirsty from the start today. I should have filled up my entire water bottle. Okay, I know I'm going to be drinking a lot today. Got a lot to discuss when it comes to talking about men. Let's hop into number 2. I hope that makes sense to all of you so far, right? And I hope we're all on the same page. We're translating language today, English or Spanish. Oh boy. All right, let's hop into number 2. Now, this is going to be something that we've talked about before with men, and I want to crystallize it as it relates to this show here. Okay? So, we have to understand what ego really is to men and why it's so important to them, okay? So we're kind of gonna picture 2 scenarios here that I want us to kind of understand, and we're gonna be talking about children, all right? No diddy. We're gonna be talking about children in the sense of helping you understand how this can work. Is that how you spell vegetables? Or is it vegetable? Whatever. Anyways. Veggies. We'll say veggies here, so you guys don't be the spell police on me. Veggies. Okay? Veggies. So, what I want us to imagine here, let's say you have a plate of, let me draw good broccoli here. Good broccoli. So, there's broccoli over here, there's broccoli over here, there's broccoli over here, okay? Now, right, vegetables. Right, you gotta spell it out, gotta sound it out. Right? Anyways, so let's imagine you have a plate of broccoli here, and we're going somewhere very special, so please stay with me here. And what I want to kind of help you picture is, imagine you have a child and you're trying to get your child to eat his vegetables, okay? And you know that your child really has a disdain for vegetables, especially broccoli. And you know that if you offer your child a plate of broccoli, your child is going to be very upset. Your child's gonna cry, scream, kick, and they're gonna spill the whole table over because they're upset that they have to eat broccoli. It's gonna be a whole mess, a whole thing that you don't wanna deal with, okay? So instead of you just presenting your child a plate of broccoli, right, you figure out that if you were to give your child, let's say, a portion of rice here, and you added some little peas over here, and you added some carrots over here, and you added some chicken over here. Let's put like maybe like a steak, right? We got a steak over here. And you added some drumsticks of chicken. You guys know my drawing is very bad, right? And you have all of this different stuff here on the plate that he can eat alongside with his vegetables. Now, all of a sudden, you realize that your child is much more likely to finish the vegetables if he can have those vegetables as well alongside with all the other things that he likes. So you get really, really good as an adult in understanding that I can get my child to eat the vegetables if I mix them in with other things that my child enjoys, right? And I kind of sandwich it in between of all these things that he really likes. That way, he'll take it down and we won't have any problems. I don't got to hear him scream. I don't got to deal with any issues, and he'll eat his vegetables. He'll be nice, full, and healthy, okay? So it's like a compromise there. Now, as it relates to the men that you're dating, it's the same idea. What I want from you and I want you to start doing is understanding you're going to attack something very specific, and that is ego. And the way you're going to attack ego is by understanding that for men, there's a certain way in which you can present information and talk to him that will be most impactful to him in terms of getting him to take action on something. And that way is by serving his ego or hitting his ego, depending on what you want here. And understanding that and how to do that properly will always yield you the result you want, because ego matters so much to men. Ego matters so much to men because that is their way of validating themselves, that I am so much better than all the other men, and I am the most mightiest man in all of the land. I'm the biggest, strongest warrior that has ever lived. I'm the king of this kingdom. We're going to talk about that at the end. And you want to understand that this is such an important part of men feeling like men. So when you start to ask for things, or when you begin to talk to men, you want to always be thinking of, how can I either do a service to his ego and get what I want from him, or do a disservice to his ego to teach him a lesson? So let me give you an example. Someone said give some examples. An example of that would be understanding, okay, if I present myself, let's say I'm going out on a date with a guy, and I know that I want him to really treat me like a princess, and I want him to really take care of me and all that good stuff. I'm going to go on this date, and I'm going to tell him how my last ex-boyfriend took me to Italy, and my last boyfriend took me to France. You know, the France that has the Eiffel Tower? That's an inside joke for those of you who know what I'm talking about. The France that has the Eiffel Tower, or sorry, the Italy, I should say, that has the Eiffel Tower. And you want to describe to him all the different ways that he has done so much for you. And how now, you know, all these guys, they hit you up, but you never give them the time of day, and you don't really care about dating. You're not really interested in dating too many people because none of the guys have really piqued your interest. Now you're doing something for his ego because you're making him feel like he's accomplishing something by even getting you on a date. And you're making him feel like you're at the tippity top of the upper echelon of women that he could even access. And the fact that he's even sitting here with you on a date is what's making him feel like, oh, wow, that you're really something. In fact, clearly, all the other men want you. In fact, clearly, men are willing to do the absolute most for you in order to date you. And you only accept the tippity top of the very top. So if I'm with you and I'm on a date with you, then that literally means I'm one of the best men around. I'm one of the most smart, intelligent, amazing men who has ever lived, because if I'm able to get access to you and you don't give access to any sort of bums, well, then that makes me feel like the man. So you see how you end up doing something for his ego, but because you do that for him, he ends up treating you or seeing you as someone who has value, because you're presenting yourself in a way that is valuable. And men, right, their ego, it's a stroker to their ego to realize they're one of the few who get access to something with value. Vice versa, when I always tell you guys that the worst thing you can do is overreact or get super angry or act crazy when a guy disrespects you or mistreats you or is just not putting his best foot forward in the relationship. And the reason I tell you guys to withdraw is because, once again, that's a hit to the ego. It's a hit to the ego because men don't feel important, don't feel like they matter when you ignore them. They don't feel like they're the best thing since sliced bread when after they disrespect you, you treat them as if they don't exist anymore. That's a hit to the ego. So when you understand how ego works and how important it is to men, when you're interacting with them and talking to them, you start to be able to see, right? It starts to become a skill where you're able to see, how can I serve his ego to get what I want from him? Right? Make him feel good, make him feel like the man. And if I don't like what I'm seeing from him, how do I do a disservice to his ego? How do I hurt or hit his ego? Because that's the place where it will matter the most to him, affect him the most, trigger him the most, that will actually inspire some change of action. Are you following me? Okay. So it's about understanding how that works in both senses, so you can get what you want in a good way, or so you can teach him a lesson if, it's in a bad way. Does that make sense to you guys so far? All right. Do you guys know the inside joke that I'm referring to when I say the Eiffel Tower in Paris, Italy, right? Because that's what I said last time on one of our shows, and everyone killed me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Tomisin, don't you know that the Eiffel Tower is in France?" I live in North America. Okay, I'm okay with geography, but I'm not the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes you be seeing the Eiffel Tower and you're just like, yeah, Europe. That's how us dumb Americans think. But maybe for those of you in Europe, about all the monuments, where the Statue of Liberty is, and where everything is. It's perfectly fine. Maybe we're just dumb Americans. Anyways, let's hop into number 3, okay? Number 3 is timing, okay? So this can be really, really interesting. So let's do the wake up. We'll do the morning. We'll do afternoon. And we'll do night. So what I want to kind of help you picture here, as it relates to timing, is talking to men and getting what you want from them is very possible. But if you're not strategic about how you go about that, you won't get what you want out of the situation. So let's consider a man's regular schedule who works a regular 9 to 5, all right? So let's say he wakes up and from 6 a.m. to, let's say, 9 a.m., he's working out, right? The workout. And at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., he's working, right? Let's just keep it real basic. In the afternoon, he comes home, he will, let's say, relax and eat. And let's say that is from, let's just say, 6 to 9 p.m., right? And at the night, obviously, he'll sleep. And that will be from, let's just say, 11 to 6 a.m., all right? Now, in this scenario in which this is such a basic schedule that a guy is going through who works an average 9 to 5, timing is important especially when you're thinking about how to get what you want when you're talking and associating and interacting with men. Because at these different times of the day, there will be different stress levels happening, right? With his work or his life or what he's going through. And there will be different responsibilities that he has at these different times of the day. And there will be a different mind state or mind frame that he's in at these different times of the day. So what does that mean for you? If you want to talk to a man and you want to actually get what you want from him, you want something in particular, you have something to ask from him, or you want him to be able to digest something that you feel or an expression or a thought that you have that you really want him to take in and then take some action on or to change, it's probably not the best time to do this when he's wide awake going to his workout first thing in the morning. It's also probably not a good idea to do this right during work when he's stressed out, he's got his boss coming to him, telling him 35 different things and all of these different assignments that he has to do, okay? And of course, at night, it's the end of the night where he wants to sleep. So when you get really strategic about understanding how to talk to men and get what you want, you figure out that getting him in the afternoon time, right after he is relaxing, right? And very specifically, when he's relaxing after he's had a meal, usually his biggest meal of the entire day, when he's laying on the couch afterwards and he's relaxing after having that big meal and, decompressing from his day. And you realize that that is the time where he's usually the happiest with you, where you'll get the most, smiles from him and cuddles from him and probably just good energy from him. Now you know when you talk to him and you interact with him, not that you won't talk to him the entire day, but you know if you really want him to be a sponge to soak up a problem that you have, an issue that you have, a conversation you want to talk about, and you really want him to be receptive to what you want and what you need, this is the perfect time period to do so. So when you get really good and strategic about presenting things to get men to take action, you realize that being very detailed about the time period in which you present those things will always give you the best opportunity to succeed in getting him to do those things. Because if you tell him the same thing that you were going to tell him at 7 p.m. after he had a meal, but you tell him this at like 11 a.m. when he's in the middle of all the chaos going on at work, yeah, he might hear you, but he doesn't really hear you. Okay? Sorry, I hit the mic there, right? But he doesn't really hear you, meaning he doesn't really take in what your needs are, understand what you're going through, and try and make an effort to fix it. That's not the place where he's like a sponge, where he's the most palatable. And understanding how to give him information when he's the most palatable is one of the keys to you getting what you want from those men, okay? Now, I'll be even more specific if you want a little bit of a pro tip here. I would not advise you to do this right when he comes back home from work, okay? I advise you to do this after he decompresses for like an hour or so. And then when he takes that first meal and he finishes eating that first meal, my advice to you, if you're, really wanting to get into the weeds and the details of this, do it after that first meal, after he decompresses. Because that's the most relaxing part of his day, where he'll be the most open to suggestions and issues and problem solving and trying to do and give you what you want and make you happy. Whether that be money, whether that be assurance, reassurance, a conversation, that is probably the best time to do that in the day, where there's the least amount of stress going on, but he still has energy to be able to talk to you. My personal advice to you, okay? So timing is such a big part of that. Does that make sense to all of you so far, okay? And why that's so important, right? Jazz says, I thought we were going to discuss what to say to men. Not what time to talk with them. Well, this is all part of the process. We have many different days to talk about many different things. But the reason we're talking about how to talk to them in the best way, because we also want to consider it's not just about what you say, right? And expressing how you feel. It's also about understanding how do you strategically do that to actually see a result. So this is a really, really important part of interacting with men on your dates, and even in a more platonic sense, or even in a talking stage. Right? Because understanding how they're affected by things, how they see things and view things, and how to strategically get them to give you what they want, and the best ways to do that is so important. Because if you just say it, but you don't understand how to properly strategize and implement it to get it, then what is it really worth? You know what I mean? All right. But we also have chats about how to say things and what exactly to say as well. All right. Let's hop into number 4. Okay. Number 4, we want to understand something very deep here. Oops. Motivation and fear. Okay? 2 of the most important concepts for you to understand about any man that you're dating, okay? So we'll put your man in the center here. Motivation and fear are so important because when you get to know a guy and you get to understand him, you need to know what these motivations of his are and what these fears of his are. Because these are the things that you're going to be pulling on or pushing on in order to get results out of him. Let me explain this in a visual. So let's imagine for this particular guy that you're with, right? He has a couple of different motivations here. Let's just say one of those motivations is to make a lot of money, right? And specifically make a lot of money because let's say his family grew up middle class and he wants to be better than what his father was able to give him. And, he wants to live up to this and be able to provide for his family because he never felt like he had enough. Maybe he had a really big family. Okay. Now we can add on to this, right? Let's say for the sake of argument, he also wants to live up to expectations. Let's say for the sake of example, he's the youngest, right, in his family. And because he's the youngest in his family, he always feels that pressure to live up to his older brothers and his older sisters, some of whom are doctors, some of whom are lawyers, some own a business. And so there's a lot of subconscious pressure in the process of you having conversation with him that you realize he puts on himself to be his absolute best. And whenever he fails at something or doesn't do well at something, you realize he's very, very hard on himself because he always thinks to himself, if I fail at all, I'm going to be the failure of the family. And as the youngest, I have all the opportunity, all the resources, and I've got to live up to all the other things that all my other brothers and sisters were able to do before me. Okay. Let's add another one here, right? That could matter. And maybe you've heard from men, right? Let's say, for the sake of example, his parents have been divorced. And because his parents have been divorced, this has made him fearful of commitment because he's seen how the divorce has affected his parents and broke apart his family. And that process was really painful for him. So he's really scared of getting married to someone because he doesn't know how it's going to end up. And he's scared of the things that could happen and maybe cheating and whatever the case may be, right? And this is one of the fears of his, right? So, dropping stuff all over the place, right? So this is something that you kind of want to get an understanding, and we could just put something here as, let's just say, I was going to say affirmations here. Right? You could also say, let's say for the sake of example, when he was growing up, his mother didn't give him a whole lot of affirmation, or his dad didn't give him a whole lot of affirmation that, hey, I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job. You're doing well. And he was always overlooked because he was the youngest in the family, and no one ever paid really any attention to him. And any accomplishment he did have in his life, his family always overlooked it and never congratulated him on it because he was never the first to do it. And whenever he graduated college, his other brothers and sisters already graduated college from even better universities. Whenever he got his master's, his brothers and sisters already got their masters from even greater places, right? Whenever he got a high-paying job, his brothers and sisters already did that. So the reason I give you all of this and try and give you this example is because this becomes like a web connected to this man. And all of his motivations and his fears become like a fingerprint, which are very unique and specific to him. So what you want to do when you're understanding and growing with men and understanding how to talk to them, you want to take into account what are your motivations and your fears. This is where all of that asking questions comes into play, because when you're asking very good questions of a man that you're talking to or you're in a relationship with, you'll start to be able to picture and better understand what are all the things that go into your own specific motivations and fears. Now, when you have a really good understanding of that, you can take these individual motivations and fears and figure out, how do I communicate to you? Because remember, at the beginning, we talked about translation, and we talked about understanding that what you want to do here is learn how to speak his language. So not only are you learning how to speak the language of the men when you're communicating them through ego and things like that, but you're even more specifically learning how to speak the language of him as an individual by understanding, how do these unique experiences that you have manifest themselves in our relationship right now, and how can I either serve those motivations Or if they're a fear, how can I put you in that same fear in order to get you to correct an action or do the right thing? So let me give you an example of what I mean here. Let's just say, for the sake of example, the affirmation things was very serious with his mother and father. He never really got any of the affirmation that he felt he needed as the youngest in the family. Remember, he's the youngest of, let's just say, 3 other kids, right? And because he was the youngest and he never got that affirmation, now you understand, okay, if I really want to motivate him or get him to take a particular action, I've got to make sure I affirm him on the things that I like him doing, right? And the things that I see he's doing a good job on, whether or not they're for me. I know if I continue to affirm him in these areas, he'll feel good about this situation. He'll feel good about himself. And subsequently, because he feels good about himself, he will continue doing good for me. But I have to make sure that I affirm him in the ways that he never got from his mother or his father. Okay? So when you get good at this, you can start putting 2 and 2 together and understanding, okay, as I'm hearing your story, I'm seeing a pattern. I'm noticing a theme. And this is something that will happen when you get, remember, I tell you all the time, what you want to be for the men that you date is like a sexy, seductive therapist. And when you get really good, when you get into this bag of being a sexy, seductive therapist, you'll get good at analyzing information and seeing patterns and themes in people's lives and in their experiences. When you start to notice those patterns or themes, that's where you attack. So when you talk to that man or you have conversation with that man, instead of, let's just say there's a situation in which you're unhappy with, right? Instead of you saying, oh, I'm so upset about something that you did to me and it makes me feel horrible and I'm so mad that you would disrespect me and you would call me names like that. Now, you know how to frame it in a way that actually speaks his language. So for example, let's say he disrespected you, called you a name outside of your name when you're in an argument. You can say this, look, I've been really, really proud of the way you've been treating me. In fact, I went out and I was telling my friends about how of all, the guys that they date, how different you are from all of those guys. And I was so proud that I was able to have you be the person that I talk about in our relationship because of the way you approach our relationship and the seriousness you bring and how much you care for me. So it was really disappointing for me to see you talk to me like that and hear you talk to me like that when I know how much better than that you are. You see how it's the same thing and you're addressing the same thing, but you're framing it from a standpoint that really speaks to him. Because when you understand that disappointment is something he's faced in his, life and his experience as a child, and affirmations is something he never got, and you subsequently, in the process of explaining to him something that you're upset about, you give him an affirmation of all the good that he was doing and how disappointed you are with the good that he's no longer doing, now you're speaking a language that he understands. Now you're speaking a very specific language that he's experienced in his life through his motivations or his fears. And now, when you present it this way, it takes a whole different type of narrative. Does that make sense in his mind? Right? Sister One said, I hold you in such a high regard, right? And you see, what you'll learn when you talk in the Players Club about different situations in men, presentation and framing is so important to getting what you want a lot of the times, right? Whether it be in your actions or the way you position yourself or the way you present yourself or the way you tell your own stories or the way you address him. That presentation will either be the difference between you getting what you want or you being frustrated with not getting what you want. Does that make sense? Right? Someone's Great Fortune Cookie says, right, stroke the ego first, right? So you're seeing now how when you add a lot of these in combination, it starts to make a lot of sense, right? Address the ego. That's the place that speaks to him. When I address the ego and I address it in ways that actually matter to him, whatever it is that he's the most motivated by or the most fearful of, now I'm really honing in on speaking and talking his language. Now when I deliver to you a message, it gets translated perfectly and you take action on it without me having to ask you to take action on it. You see how this works, right? And it becomes very, very magical. Right? Noel says, why do men have the audacity to have a big ego when they are losers? I don't understand. Get yourself far away from the losers. That's what you need to do, okay? We don't want you around any type of loser energy, all right? Let's hop into point number 5. Okay? Now, point number 5, I'll be honest with you. It's going to feel like I'm dissing you when I say this at first, but I want you to understand we are always here to get you what you want here. Okay? So let's hop into point number 5. This is not a diss, okay? I just have to make you aware of that. Point number 5. Right? Okay. I don't want you to think, as I'm drawing my character here, I don't want you to think that I actually want you to be dumb, okay? Because point number 5 is obviously play dumb. You don't actually want to be dumb. But what I want to explain to you here is a concept that's very important to understand as it relates to relationships and getting what you want, okay? So one thing that you will notice at some point is, let me draw you here. Let me draw you nicer today. Let me see if I can draw something a little bit nicer looking. Give you, what do you want? Curly hair today? We'll give you curly hair today. Curly hair for you. Beautiful curls. Nice, amazing smile. We're gonna draw you, never mind. I was gonna do something special, but triangle body for you. All right? What you're gonna notice is you are very smart. And it's great that you're smart. I want you to be smart. I want you to be intelligent. What I also want you to understand, though, is sometimes there is a time and place to play dumb. Hold on. Don't think I'm dissing you. Stay with me because we're going somewhere for you and your benefit. Playing dumb is a strategic thing that you want to do when you talk to men sometimes in order to get what you want. And what I mean by get what you want, see, when you talk to men and you want them to take action on something, you want him to give you princess treatment, you want him to take you out on more dates, you want him to be more consistent with you, you're really not going to get what you want by thinking to yourself, okay, I know the perfect strategy for you to be consistent. You need to ask me out on a date at the beginning of the week so that by the end of the week, I have many different options of times that we can go out, that we can get to the right place and we can do what we need to do. And if you just do it like this, then we'll have it perfect and we won't have to worry about anything. You're really smart. You're really intelligent. You know what to do and you know how to break things down for people to understand, right? You're a boss woman. That's amazing. The problem is, though, and I have to be real with you, in the process of overtly outsmarting your man or showing him how much more smarter and intelligent you are than him, what will happen is these men will begin to put up a wall, right? They'll put up a wall in front of you and they won't let you in, right? To their feelings, to their emotions, to what they want, because you are presenting yourself as being so much smarter than them that it begins to make him feel small and emasculated as a man. And so because he feels small and emasculated as a man, he doesn't feel like he's even capable of making a decision for himself. And so this can become something very dangerous because you know how you go to the gym and you work out your muscles and your muscles get really strong, or you start shooting a basketball and you get really good at shooting a basketball after you practice and practice and practice. And when you're lifting those weights, you start to get better and better form, not only because you're getting stronger, but because of that muscle memory, right? Of being able to do that thing over and over and over again. What happens in your relationships when you play too smart for too long? Your men begin having muscle atrophies. So if you go to the gym, you build muscle, get super strong. But if you don't go to the gym for long enough, that muscle atrophies, which means just gets smaller. And it's the same thing for your emotions and the dynamic in your relationship. Your man will begin to atrophy his muscle memory to be able to take control of situations, think critically for himself, what is the most logical, reasonable, and best decision to make for me and my woman? What does my woman need at this certain point? What are the issues and how can I solve her problems? Those skills that he's supposed to be able to have and develop and grow as a man, he will stop having and developing because you're always so much smarter than him. And both you and him know how much smarter than him you are. But the problem is that doesn't actually serve you. And I'm not telling you to dim your light. I'm not telling you that you should be act stupid in order for people to like you. What I'm telling you is there's a strategy to playing just dumb enough at the right times that you allow your man to magically feel like he came up with the decision that was the smartest and the best for both of you. And because he came up with that bright idea decision, you're so shocked and blown away about the fact that he could put all of these things together and figure out what is best for both of you. But you want to know the sneakiest, most amazing part of that? Is you ended up getting what you wanted in the first place, but you allowed your man to feel like he came up with the bright idea to do those things. So sometimes talking to men is playing dumb enough that you allow them to feel like, oh, I have this bright idea of what we can do or what I can do for you, even though you know that was the obvious thing to do. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say, for the sake of example, you're over and sleeping over at his place and he lives in a different town than you. And he's been asking you, hey, I want you to come to this party with this work event with me and my friends. And you're like, great, I would love to come to this work event, but oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna wear. The stuff that I brought, when you were describing to me the work event that you wanted us to go to, I was thinking it was going to be a more casual thing. And I want to look super hot for you. I want them to know you have the hottest girl around because you're the type of boss man that when you go around, they can't be thinking you have no wishy-washy girl. I can't go to this place casual, but I don't know what I can do. The stuff I brought is really casual. I don't have any heels. Oh, what am I going to do? I just can't figure out how I could possibly solve this situation where I can look hot for you. Because I want to look hot for you. I really want to look hot for you. I want to wear something that you love. You know how you like my dump truck, right? I want to look something that looks nice and tight on my dump truck, can really show off my curves for you, that I can be looking good for you. But I just don't know how I'm going to do that. And then he says, oh, I've got an amazing idea. There's a mall, literally 10 minutes from my house. We can go to that mall. I can buy you this really amazing red dress, the one that I love on you. Ugh, it makes you look so good. Something nice and red, or something. Oh, what about leather? What about leather? You like leather? Oh, I can get you in something. We're going to the mall right now. I'm going to get you something nice and leather. You're going to look so amazing. We're going to get you some nice heels. Oh, you're going to look beautiful at this party. Okay, we're going right now. And you see how you're, oh my God. I would have never thought the mall is right there. I didn't even know that we could go to the mall. Is that even a thing that people do? They go to the mall? How would you even? You're such a smart, amazing man. How did I even get lucky enough to be with a man this smart and amazing where you can think of things like this to go to the mall? You play it up. Oh, I didn't realize. You're so smart. You're so amazing, right? You're doing things for yourself and you're doing things for him, right? Because this process, right, of strategically playing dumb will bring this wall down, right? You'll bring this wall down because men will feel disarmed being around you, right? This wall will be no more because now the men will begin to feel like I can be a man and I can feel like a man around you. So the same thing when we talked about, oh, the muscle will atrophy if you play smart for too long and make him feel emasculated. It's the same thing where when you just do enough work to present the situation and let him connect those dots, it's like electricity, right? Let him do just enough work to connect those dots and make the decision. I didn't know you could make that decision. That's so smart. Now you're allowing him to build up that strength and that muscle memory of doing critical thinking and giving you what you wanted in the first place, okay? That's why I say this point is not about, oh, you're so dumb, you're so unintelligent that you can't know what you need or know what you want in a relationship or out of a situation. It's about understanding that playing dumb does something for you because it does something for your man, because it does something for his ego. Do you see how it's all working together, okay? Right? When you're talking to men and you're asking for things, you approach it from the egotistical standpoint. How does this or what I'm saying affect his ego? How can I stroke it to get what I want here? And sometimes playing dumb is the right way to go about a situation when you need or want something from him, but also stroking his ego so that the process of him giving you what you wanted in the first place makes him feel like I did that because I wanted to. And that's the key element of playing dumb. When men feel like I did that because I wanted to, they actually feel good about doing the thing for you. They don't feel like you twisted their arm and forced them to do the thing, which is actually good for both of you because you get to feel like my man's a man and he took care of me and you get what you wanted in the first place, but he also gets to feel good about giving you the thing. Right? I know it sounds really demeaning and degrading to tell you to play dumb, but the reality of it is you in your feminine shouldn't be trying to man your man. And sometimes, even though you're smart and intelligent, I know that you are, and I know that you're so good and you know a lot about a lot, sometimes that can emasculate your man. And sometimes it can put him in a position where he starts to be dumb himself because you're so damn smart. But you don't want that because you want a man who will take control. Right? Do you guys see how that works? And does that make sense to you guys so far, right? Henya says, have to work on that. It's okay. It's a practice for all of us in understanding that, right? Okay. People will describe this in different ways. And like I said, it's not about doing it all the time, right? It's not about playing dumb every second of every day and just being someone who doesn't know anything about anything. It's about understanding that there are times where you do that to strategically allow your man to take the lead, allow him to take the lead, quote, air quotes. And in the process of him taking the lead, he will make the decision that you already wanted him to make and is the most obvious decision to make anyways, okay? But at least he feels good about it, right? Jazz says, use the sandwich method. Tell him he does good, then what you don't like, then finish it with something good again. That is actually a method that they use. They use that at work as well, right? Not the sandwich method. They use that in the workplace. Tell someone something good, then tell them what you have a problem with, they need to fix, then tell them something good after that. You sandwich the bad in between two good things. That definitely is a strategy. So does that make sense to you guys so far? I hope this is all kind of connecting some dots with you, all right? Ego is such an important part for men, so understanding how to stroke it and how to kind of hurt it in certain ways, as weird as it sounds, will always help you. Now let's get on to our point number 6, okay? Excuse me, okay? All right, so let's imagine here we have the king. And the king, he controls all of these little eensy weensy, insignificant, tiny, whiny, right? All of these peasants. Right? All of these peasants, the king controls. And these peasants are all at the control and the, was it behove? That's not the word, all right? They're all at the control of the king, right? He controls them. He controls what they do. He controls the entire kingdom, all right? So we'll put the kingdom here. We can even put kingdom. We don't have to call them all peasants because some of them will be knights. Some of them will be jesters. Some of them will have a different role in the kingdom, right? So let's just imagine this is the entire kingdom here. And so you got the king who's controlling the kingdom. And in the process of the king controlling the kingdom, of course, the king has to have his queen, right? So the queen is here, but the queen obviously doesn't control the kingdom because the king is controlling the kingdom. He's telling everyone what to do. He's telling the knights when to march and where to go. He's telling how the messengers should get a message to other kingdoms. He's telling the peasants where they should live and where they shouldn't live. He's controlling that entire kingdom. But even though the queen doesn't control the kingdom directly, if the queen has a problem with one of the knights in the kingdom, what do you think the king does? He takes care of the problem with that knight. If the queen has some sort of issue with one of the peasants daring to disrespect her, the king beheads that peasant immediately. If the queen has any issue with any one of these members in the kingdom or anything that's going on, she talks to the king, and the king makes a decision on that issue based on his wife's needs, wants, and desires. Because as the king, even though he controls the castle, he still has a desire to serve his queen and serve her happiness as her man. So the reason I say that is because if the king controls the kingdom, but the queen can control the king's actions through the fact of her desires and her wants and her needs are so important to the king that he will take action on those desires that she has. Well then, if you really think about the hierarchy in that sense, then it really is more like the king is here and the king answers to the queen. Because when you really think about it, if the queen has that much influence over the king, who's really in control of the kingdom? So the reason I say that is because when you get good at understanding how to talk to men, and you're really at your most powerful, you understand that real control when it comes to your relationships and the power to get men to do things for you is not in overtly trying to control things from the forefront. It's by controlling things from the shadows and using the fact that when a man desires and wants you, he will have an innate desire to solve your problems, fix your problems, and address things for you because of the fact that he wants you. So if you focus on investing in yourself and being desirable to him, that he comes to you and he says, "My lady, I really want to be with you," all you have to do is not even mention the things that you want him to do specifically. You mention the things that you would like the most of anyone you wanted to be with. And because he wants to be with you, he makes that adjustment, not because you told him to make that adjustment. He makes that adjustment because he wants to be who you want. And he wants to be the man that you need. And he wants to live up to the expectations that you have. So reframing that way of thinking and that way of addressing men can drastically change the results that you see, okay? For example, let's say a guy has been saying that he wants to take you out on a date. He's been calling you, and then all of a sudden he stops calling you and stops asking you out on dates. And it goes by for, let's say, a week. He reaches out to you after a week and he says, "Look, I just want to let you know that I really want to see you soon," and you don't answer. Then he messages you again, "What's wrong? What's going on? Why didn't you answer me?" And you still don't answer. Then he calls you and he says, "Yo, you haven't answered me for the past 2 days. What's going on?" And you respond to him and say, "Oh, I only deal with people who are consistent. Wasn't seeing that from you, so I just move forward." But wait. No, there was an issue here. There was an issue. Oh, okay. It's not my problem. I move forward if I don't see consistency. But okay, but look, I'll make sure that I can make it up to you, and I'll do this thing and I'll do that thing so that I can make sure that I have a schedule that fits yours and I can make sure that we see each other more consistently. Okay. Are you sure? We're good? Sure. Drop. And you see how when you reframe things from the standpoint of, "Oh, I'm not upset at you. You didn't make me mad. I just exist up here and I deal with people over here. If you're not that, it doesn't bother me. It just means you won't have access to me," which is exactly why you haven't had access to me. And when you frame it like that, and you know that these men want to be with you or have a desire to be with you, now you're putting him in a position where if you want to serve me because you want to be with me, then you'll figure out how to serve me. I'm not going to tell you how to serve me. I'm not going to tell you what you must or must not do. I'm just going to lay out the only type of people I deal with are people who do these things. And the people that I don't deal with, they don't do these things or they don't do these things well. And once it's like that, if you choose to fit into that category, then maybe you'll get some access to me. If you don't choose to fit into that category, then you won't get access to me. But even understanding that on a deeper level and understanding that that is the way you truly control things is by controlling them from the shadows indirectly. Okay? And when you're talking to men, understanding how you can feed the ego, right, strategically, how you can talk to him from a standpoint of the things that are his own motivations and his own fears, And all of these things that you do in the process of having conversation and interacting with men will get them to move and shake things for you without you ever having to lift a finger or beg or scream or yell. We want you to be like the ultimate femme fatale. We want you to be in your black cat energy. We want you to be a seductive therapist, okay? You ever hear a therapist screaming and yelling? It doesn't happen. A therapist asks a lot of questions. They write their notes down. They take notes and they analyze and observe things, but they're definitely not in the business of screaming and yelling. You don't need to be either, okay? Men meet you where, if they can meet you where your expectations are, then they meet you there. And if they can't, it doesn't bother you one little bit, okay? And that also should be framed by the way you interact with them and talk with them. And your control should come from the shadows in understanding that they will serve you if they have a desire to be with you. So when you frame things, you frame it from those standpoints. Does that make sense to all of you in the chat and why that's so important? Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the 6 that we just discussed today? I know some of you came in the chat, and when you heard how to talk to men, you were thinking very different things. I think it was Jazz that said, I thought this was going to be very different, but I think that this is also very beneficial in strategizing how you talk to men in the way that gets you the best results, okay? And I want you to get very, very, very good results. Someone said you cooked, you ate. That's funny, okay? I hope that makes sense to all of you there in the chat. Now, let me check and make sure. Let me just scroll up a little bit. Someone said the sandwich method really works. It does work. It does work, okay? Null says, if he plays dumb and doesn't catch hints, does that mean he doesn't like you enough? Okay, that's a great question, Null. That could mean one of two things. Either it means he's too dumb to really pick up what you're putting down, in which case you don't really want men like that, I'll be honest with you, because they're not at the emotional threshold that they can really understand that, okay, this is important to her, or I need to make an adjustment, in which case just leave it. Or he could be in a situation where, because he doesn't have enough interest in you, when you ask for something or when you care about something, he doesn't necessarily care about that because he doesn't care about being with you. Notice that, a lot of what we talk about is through the understanding that these men have at least some desire to be with you, some desire for you. And if they don't, then it's kind of very hard to get a man motivated or to move or shake things for you when he doesn't even have any desire for you in the first place, right? What we're talking about here is how to get what you want in talking to men. But even from a standpoint, when it comes to romantically, he obviously has to have some sort of desire for you. And if he doesn't move or shake when you do any of these things, it's probably because there's really no interest there, right? That's like saying, how can I motivate a stranger to do anything for me? I mean, the stranger doesn't know you and is not invested in you, so that's going to be basically impossible, right? What someone says, when do we get our certificate? Maybe very, very soon. Maybe very, very soon, right? Let me scroll up here. Pola says, the thing is that we sincerely want to feel this way towards our partners. Women often get involved with people who are dumber than them, and then they have to play these games. I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, you would be with someone so smart and so intelligent that you would never have to play dumb at times. But even at certain points with a really smart or really intelligent man, when you want something from him specifically, or you want specific treatment from him, or you want a specific gift even, sometimes playing dumb will be the right way to go about it, because allowing him to put 2 and 2 together without you telling him to do it is what lets him feel like a man and keeps allowing him to build the muscle memory of doing things for you because he knows you want them and need them, rather than you telling him what to do, that he never starts doing critical thinking on what he should be doing, okay? Nicole says, let me scroll up to what Nicole said here. She says, happy Friday, looking forward to rewatching the replay. My brain is fried on Fridays. Trust me, I always have lots of energy on Fridays. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's like the last day before, the weekend for me. So maybe that's why I have lots of energy. Flower says, the feminine, the moon is really one control. The masculine, the sun is ostensible control. What did you say there? I want to see what you said there. Oh, sensible control. Oh, but the smart feminine, she holds the power behind the throne. It's exactly like we described here, right? If the queen is in control of the king and the king controls the castle, then who really controls the kingdom? It's just indirect, right? Noel says, can you do a video on Gamer Boys? Maybe one day. That'll just be me ranting. I don't think that'll be uh, uh, fun for you guys if I'm just sitting here ranting about how you shouldn't be with men that play video games. Did I say thank you for the donation to Nicole? I hope I did. Okay. All right, chat. Oh, Shamiz says, what about guys that flirts with you while they're in a relationship? Those are guys you shouldn't even be addressing or talking to in the first place. Let's hop into our React segment. Our React segment is where all of you send me in TikTok videos across the universe and we watch them. They're about love, life, and relationships. We're going to watch these TikTok videos together and we're going to react to all of these TikTok videos. While we do that, or while I clean up and getting to that, I'm going to play a little bit of an intermission video for you all. Today's intermission video comes from Steven Speaks, where he's going to be talking to you all about how to prepare to receive your future husband by doing these 7 things. So while Steven speaks to you all, I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna be back in just a moment, and then we're gonna start our React segment. Okay, spam up your headphone emojis, spam up your camcorder emojis, spam up your baby oil emojis. Oh, by the way, for those of you who have, I always say Stefan. For those of you who have a personal question for me, you can always send your personal question into our to my link in my description. Go and where it says private relationship question, you can send me in a private question and I answer it with a voice message back to your email. I'm all caught up on all of my questions here, so it won't take me more than a few days to get back to your question. So make sure you send those in if you have like a really specific situation to send me. All right, Steven Speaks, take it away, and I'll join you guys back here in just a moment.
You gotta start by cutting the dead weight. Now, I'm not talking about physical weight. I'm talking about the dead weight, i.e., some of the garbage men that y'all be dealing with. Forgive me. Some of the messed up situations that y'all need to get yourselves out of, because one of the things I come across a lot is, let me give first a different example. I'll be coaching a woman, and let's say she is currently single, right? But let's say she got married at 20 years old, was married for 10 years, divorced at 30. It has now been 7 months since her divorce, okay? And she's ready, she wants to find someone. And even though she's just divorced, she's been mentally checked out of that marriage years before the actual divorce took place. And for her, it's like she's saying to me, why is it taking so long? I haven't found a man yet. And I'm like, wait a minute. You've been caught up and emotionally unavailable, whether you realize it or not, for the last 10 years of your life. You've technically been off, not technically, you were off the market. And even though you were mentally checked out, you were still off the market. You haven't been waiting that long, right? Now, that's her story, and that might apply to others. And for some of you, it's not a divorce, but some of you have been dealing with a garbage man or garbage men or garbage situations. And sometimes it's not even that they're a garbage guy. Sometimes they're a good guy, just not the right situation, okay? Either way, you've been dealing with situations that's not for you, but then wondering, why is it taking so long for me to find the right guy? Well, you can't get the right one if you keep dealing with the wrong one, all right? And for those of you who have been not dealing with that, well, I got you later, so just put a pin in that one. But for those of you who this relates to, okay, you have to identify what is the dead weight in your life. What are the things that are either getting in the way or could get in the way? Now, it goes beyond a man that you're dealing with. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I understand that while waiting for the real thing, it is very easy for us as human beings to want to deal with the temporary thing, to want to deal with the entertaining thing, the thing that makes us feel less lonely right now, or that we can enjoy some fun times with. I get it. I'm not judging you for it. But you do have to be careful. And I have to say this, and some of you may disagree, but I think this is extremely important for women. It's not to say that men do not get attached. All right. It's not to say that men do not.
Hop into our React segment here. Thank you so much, Mr. Steven Speaker, and we'll play our first video here.
What would you do if you walked in on your boyfriend watching porn?
I don't like that personally. I just feel like if you have to go somewhere else mentally to get it, maybe there's something we need to talk about. Maybe there's something we need to address, right? And that's just a boundary of mine. That doesn't have to be everyone's boundary. Because the few times I have talked about it, sometimes people are like, well, I don't care. Okay, congratulations. No one's going to give you a fucking medal. I do care. That being said, does every couple operate like that? Of course not. Like, some couples are super okay with watching porn on both sides. That's great. That's awesome. Not everybody's like that. And I always think about like that cool girl monologue from the movie Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Women truly believe they have to be okay with anything men do, even if it makes them uncomfortable.
I was gonna say, chat, are you okay with this or not? I'm curious from a girl's perspective. If you don't like this, why? And if it doesn't matter to you, say yes in the chat.
Comfortable, because otherwise they're gonna think I'm a fucking uptight bitch. Who cares if they do? It's not all about him. He doesn't just get to act however the fuck he wants just because you're afraid that he might think you're like uptight, not cool, whatever the fuck that is. And honestly, a cool girl is a pick-me. So like pick-me girls are girls who do anything for male validation, or and that includes compromising their own boundaries. Right.
I think the only caveat would be like if you are someone as a woman who likes to watch porn,
Yeah.
then it's like you can't really come for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
That's why I said boundaries is different for
Exactly,
everyone.
exactly.
Some couples love doing that. That's great. That's awesome. That's just not my vibes. And if it's not, if you're asking me, I'm assuming that's not your vibe either.
What would you do if you walked in on your boyfriend watching?
Okay, a couple things I want to address here. I actually think the best way to go about this is actually to go ahead and ask him, because the thing about corn is corn can be a great way to understand someone's deeper KINKSs and relishes, okay? If you want to be really smart and strategic, my advice to you, if this was actually your man or a guy that you're really serious about, ask to see what type of porn that he watches and actually have him show you the type of videos that he watches, like the categories. I know it feels really awkward and weird and like, Thompson, why the hell would I ask him to see the type of porn he watches? That's so stupid. That's so weird. That's so childish. It will give you a lot of insight as to what his deeper desires are. You might learn some things that you didn't realize, but it's good because that's more information. I'm Mr. Information. I always want you to have as much information as you possibly can. And yes, some things you might see that he watches might surprise you, but you also might get an opportunity to have a conversation with him like, oh, why is that the thing that you're into? Why do you enjoy that? Why do you watch that? And the more you can have a conversation about that, it's not just about having dirty talk, okay? It's about understanding what is the thing behind it? What is the reason it turns you on? And it may be, if we're in a relationship, how can we recreate that in our relationship so you don't feel the need to like search for that in other parts of your life, right? Whether it be at work or at the club or as something like that. And you'll be surprised how many guys are suppressing that side of them or certain parts of what they desire because they feel like you might judge them. Giving it a no judgmental zone, even if he sells you something that you think is nasty, is still better than you not knowing at all. Because at least when you know and you think it's nasty, you can say to yourself, I ain't never doing that, but at least I know what he's into. And I can figure out a way for us to compromise here. But if you have no idea that this is a thing that he's into or desires, and you're just in there blind, one day you might realize that he's been getting himself off on things outside of your relationship. And then you'll really be upset because you'll really have a problem. Okay? Just some advice.
Help yourself. I can't. Well, why not? I just can't help myself. But it's right there. I know. But I just can't do it. Do you not want any coffee? No, I do, very much. Then go for it. I can't.
The music is so loud.
Would you like me to pour you a cup, or... Well, I wish you could. Sure, yeah. But but you can't. I can't? No, because I have to do this myself. No one else can do this for me. I'm sorry, do you want coffee or not? No, I do. I really do. And what's so complicated? You want coffee, you pour yourself some coffee. It's really that simple. I can't do it. I can't do it. Why can't I do it? I just get to the very edge. I just can't. I can't jump. You know? Do you mind if I have some? No, not at all. Do you mind? Oh, yeah, sure. Anything else? No. Would you care for some, or? Yeah. Yeah, I would, actually. Help yourself. I can't.
So what this makes me think of, right? This is actually pretty cinematic here. Clearly, he made a masterpiece. What this makes me think of, though, is whenever, I help hundreds of all of you beautiful women. Whenever I hear people talk about, oh, I like this guy, but he's not treating me right. He's not doing the right thing. So I just stopped talking to him. But now that I stopped talking to him, he keeps messaging me. Why won't he just leave me alone? And my answer is always, well, why don't you have some self-respect and realize it's not the responsibility of the man who's been using and abusing you to stop using and abusing you. I know it's wrong, and I agree that it's wrong, and he definitely should stop, and he definitely should be more mature and not treat you that way. But he treats you that way on an ongoing basis because you continue to allow him back into your life to treat you that way. So the expectation that he's going to come to some magical realization to stop treating you that way is ridiculous. You, like this whole message here in this video, are supposed to help yourself, not expect a man who's been taking advantage of you to help you by stop messaging you or talking to you or reaching out to you when he knows he's been able to get access to you to take advantage of you. Okay?
I do believe that what I want already wants me. I do believe that what you want already wants you. I imagine all my goals and dreams and aspirations running towards me on the beach, arms wide open, and I'm doing the same. But it is matching my pace. But my pace is my own. I can't let perfect get in the way of perfectly good. And at the end of the day, whatever you are meant to do, whatever your calling is. I read something a long time ago that children know what they want to do, what they're born to do, but society sometimes gets in the way. I have an idea of the person that I want to be and the things that I want to do, but I have to show up, the writer must write, the singer must sing, the creator must create, the teacher must teach, the student must study. You know what I mean? And I imagine it like a weightlifter cannot just manifest winning Mr. Olympia. They must go to the gym and their training has to be intentional. You know what I mean? So when I think about running towards myself on the beach, it is intentional. But I also keep in mind that part of that plan is that the human heart, the human hurt must heal. It must. That's what separates us from the machinery. And I think part of healing that hurt is part of living our lives. And sometimes being on this thing all the time and listening to stories about other people's lives, you know what I mean? Other people's tricks and tips and advice, whatever, comes from their real lived lives. You must live your life. And part of that is overcoming those negative voices and those that hurt inside that tells you. And it kind of sounds like you sometimes, that negative voice is in your voice sometimes. I hate that bitch. God. But you have to kind of explore that too. That is also part of that journey to finding, that thing, that goal, And you have to also trust that it's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. But it will happen. You were meant to happen.
So it actually reminds me, I always tell you guys, so sometimes, we'll have the show and we'll talk and we'll discuss things and we'll discuss different points and I'll give example after example after example. I'll be on the whiteboard drawing analogies and scribbles and visuals. And sometimes, I'll get questions like, oh, but how do I do that? How do I implement that? Well, okay, but tell me exactly what to say. Like write it down exactly for me. And my answer to that sometimes is, well, there comes a certain point where I can give you all the advice in the world. I can write all the visuals on the board. I can scribble left and right. I can draw in black, blue, orange. I can draw in invisible ink. But at a certain point, you do have to get to the point where you go out and you implement and you try and you just go for it. Especially when it comes to dating, sometimes you can get stuck in the cycle of just always trying to figure out what the best move is, but you have to start implementing some of the things that we talk about by going out and exploring. And you're not going to find good dates by sitting around and scrolling on Hinge or scrolling on Bumble, okay? You're going to have to start going out and exploring your life. Sometimes you guys even ask me, well, how do I explore life? How do I find some different hobbies? How do I find some different passions? How do I find my tribe? You have to step out of your house. The stepping out of your house will always be the first step, regardless of how you choose to go about it. You're never going to find your tribe by sitting in your house. You're never going to find your tribe by laying in your bed. And you're never going to find your tribe by scrolling on TikTok, okay? And the reason I say that is because there is a level that I do want you to listen and, join us and we have conversation and I want to encourage you. But then you also have to take that and take action upon your desires. Not just listen to me all day. You can listen to me while you take action. I don't mind that at all. But you don't want that to be the only thing that you do is just listen to advice and then never take action, because that's part of the process of living the life that you want to live and seeing the results out of the life that you want, right?
Here's why your hottest friends are still single, part 2. And I mean the 10 out of 10 gorgeous women. It's simple science. I'm a relationship scientist.
Yeah, this is the relationship scientist. This guy is so much more smarter than me. Very studious. You see his glasses, you see his collared shirt. I'm over here in a sweater, okay? And I've got a red background, not as studious and scientific as him, for sure.
This match made hundreds of thousands, including celeb failure. Because failure means the end of their lineage, whether they think of it or not. They've been hardwired to avoid the possibility of rejection. Don't believe me? Read the comments. The most beautiful women rarely get hit on. Here's why your hottest friends are still single.
I think there's an element of truth to that, the really beautiful women are intimidating the guys because guys assume that they're already taken. So they kind of shoot their shot at a quote unquote lower level. But what I will say to that is investing in yourself and making yourself the most desirable that you can will always do you a benefit, because like we talked about in yesterday's show, the funnel, when men are deciding whether or not they even want to take the chance to get to know you or know more about you, it always starts with their physical attraction to you. So in that sense, the looks do matter, because that's the initial phase under which men will decide, do I even want to explore getting to know the person that you are? So if you're not investing in that and taking care of that, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where you have this amazing personality, but no guys really care to get to know that side of you. It's unfortunate, but it is the reality. So it is part of the thing that you have to be paying attention to and investing in on a regular and consistent basis, not only for men, but for yourself as well, because that gives you confidence that makes you more attractive.
Here's why your hottest friends are still single.
Okay, let's do other people. Sorry, I'm going to recap this because we watched this video together. For those of you who haven't seen, this is like a viral video. I seen it on Instagram. This girl made she made an entire song around her relationship because her man, essentially, that she was dating for many, many years, eventually they moved to a different state. And then all of a sudden he just wrote her a note and said, yeah, after we moved to this different state away from your family, I don't want to be with you anymore. And he just left. Like, that was it. So this is what this video is.
If you think that men care about compatibility, you're crazy. If men cared about compatibility, they wouldn't be 57 trying to date 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They do not care about compatibility. What men care about is what you can do for them and how you are going to benefit them. And for the record, I think what happened to this young woman is absolutely terrible. And because men are such good liars and so good at using other people, this can actually be really, really difficult to catch unless you know the true nature of men. Because even her video of this incident has very clear proof that they were at least in some ways compatible. They were enjoying doing the same activities. They seemed really like happy, content, comfortable together. And it's very easy, especially as a young woman, to be fooled into these 3, 5, 8-year relationships where you think everything is fine and great and you're heading towards marriage. It's taking a little bit longer, but that's okay, da da da. And all of a sudden, this man just dumps you overnight and goes and marries somebody else within 3 to 6 months. But I really need you to understand how little this has to do with compatibility at all. To a lot of men, women don't represent companions. They represent appliances. The reason that women fall for this is because not a lot of us want to admit men's true nature to ourselves. Men are social climbers. Men respond very well to hierarchy. They're very submissive. The only people that honestly they're concerned about being compatible with is other men. That's why oftentimes when men come into money or promotions and they become part of like a higher level boys club, they'll often trade in their wife to match the wives of those other men. Men do not care about being compatible with you. They care about being compatible with other men and using you as a status symbol in order to achieve that compatibility. The reason why it's so easy for them to do these things, like break up with you, like days or weeks after you uprooted and left your entire life behind to accommodate like his wishes and his visions for the future, that was your purpose in his life. There's a lot of men see themselves as the main character and they literally do plan these things out. Oh, this will just be my college girlfriend that I had before I met my real wife. Or this will be my starter wife. She's good enough for now. I need y'all to understand that this is calculated. Men know when they don't like you, when they don't love you, when they don't want to marry you, because they'll spend 3, 4, 5, 8 years in a relationship with you without making any type of commitment like that.
One of the great questions that maybe we might have a whole like re-show on this, because I think I've talked about this before, but maybe we might have a whiteboard show on this. One of the great questions that I love and encourage you to ask the men that you're dating at a certain point when the relationship is actually, progressing. Why do you like me? Or if love is on the table, why do you like or love me specifically? Like, what are the qualities that you like or love about me? What is the reason that you are choosing me? The reason that that's a great question is because it's so introspective, and it requires the men to really get into deep detail about what is the reason they're choosing you as opposed to choosing the Stacy on the street, or choosing this other girl across the road, or choosing any one of the other pretty, beautiful girls that they could choose. The men who really are sure of you and sure of this relationship, they'll be able to give you a detailed answer as to why they're choosing to pick you as their partner specifically, and the unique qualities that you possess that they want and need in their life, which is the reason that he's picking you. The men who really are unsure and can't answer that question, or they tell you something very vague like, oh, you're really nice, or you've got a huge ass, or, you're really, awesome, amazing person, something very vague like that, they don't really know why they're with you. And that's a problem, because if a man is with you and he doesn't really know the reason he's with you specifically, then how is that going to manifest itself in the future of your relationship? Because you're going to go through temptation, you're going to go through trials and tribulations, you're going to go through ups and downs, but what's going to keep him grounded in understanding, why am I here, right? And it sounds like a really simple question, right? Why am I with you? Because I like you. No, but why are you with me specifically? You really and truly could like anyone. Why did you choose me, or what did you see in me that made you want to make me the person that you spend the rest of your life with? Because that is quite a commitment. It's one of those deep questions that you'll realize tell you a lot about how someone feels about you, and it will show you a lot about what a guy thinks about you, which is good. It'll give you more information, and some of you might be surprised, trust me, but it's a great question to ask.
Okay, so he said he needed a couple weeks, which would bring me to the 4th, but then I don't want to be desperate, so I'll give him till the 7th till I'll reach out. And then I have an exam.
Never reach out. Okay, that's already the first mistake in this video here. You never reach out, ever, in a million years. If that guy doesn't reach out to you and it's been a couple of days, trust me, he didn't want to.
On the 9th, so I'll act busy. I'll say I can't, and then I'll tell him worst case scenario he doesn't message me. I'll message him again. Not again. I'll message him on the 11th and say like, hey, I'm going home for the holiday soon. Let's do something.
No, you never do that. You never do that. Okay, I want to mention something to you all. Let's finish this video and then we'll.
And that gives me a week to make plans happen. What do you think?
Absolutely not.
You think later I should message him?
No,
I could push back from the 7th to the 11th to message him. And then that's 3 weeks that I give him. That's a lot of time, though. Realistically, like, he should only need a week. Okay, so he said he...
She's trying, okay? Right? We all trying. What I want you to learn from this is the only time you should be telling men your availability is when they ask you for your availability. I know it sounds very silly. If a man doesn't ask you for your availability, you don't need to offer up your availability. The reason I say this, we need to establish a very clear dynamic. If you want to get to know me, it should be because you pursue me and you're going for the thing. That you and your desire to get to know me actually pushes you forward to ask you when I'm free, ask you when I'm available, and organize a date or a hangout with me. If you do not do that, you're not going to hear of my availability, and I'm not going to be offering myself up to you. I know you're thinking, Tomisin, but why can't I just tell him I'm available next week so that he'll have enough time to plan this date with me? The problem is, even if you get that date out of him by telling him when you're available, even when he didn't ask, what's going to happen is, in order to continue going out on dates with him, you're going to have to continue being the person setting it up by letting him know your availability. And once again, like we talked about in today's show, you're going to atrophy the muscle memory of your man and his ability to pursue you, because you're doing the job that he should be doing, which is getting your availability by asking you for your availability. Okay? Don't do that.
Sometimes a Rolex comes into your life to show you that you deserve a Richard Mille. This isn't about watches. Clock that.
What?
Sometimes a Rolex comes into your life to show you that you deserve a Richard Mille.
Well,
this isn't about watches.
A Rolex is like a $10,000 to $12,000 watch. A Richard Mille is a $250,000 watch. Okay, that's the basic thing, right? The guy who's not so good will come into your life to show you that you deserve someone way better. That's the simple gist of the analogy there. I know you guys. She should have made this about Chanel bags or Louis Vuitton bags. Saying it about watches, you guys don't care about watches. Why would you know about watches? Okay, that's why I make it about you.
Ladies, men's primary focus is not relationships. They are biologically selfish. And they can come in the comments here and deny it until they're blue in the face. But this is the facts. And the quicker you realize this as a woman, the happier.
Sorry, let's rewatch this first part again.
Ladies, men's primary focus is not relationships. They are biologically selfish. And they can come in the comments here and deny it until they're blue in the face. But this is the facts. And the quicker you realize this as a woman, the happier you will be in this life. Once you realize that a man does not give an F about you, you will be happier as a woman. When you start to think this way, you will naturally prioritize yourself. And that is something that as women we should have done many years ago. We should have done centuries ago. And I don't just mean being out here for survival. No, I mean really decentering men and centering ourselves. Men's primary focus is not relationships. It's career, status, and personal goals. Where's relationships in that? Doesn't exist.
The status is served through his ego by the type of woman he's with. It's also a version of a status symbol, which is why men like really attractive women, because it's a version of serving his ego by being with the most attractive woman that all the men would want to be with as well.
Exist. Because men don't center their lives around relationships. In fact, they see relationships as just like an addition, as something that's just kind of there lingering. They don't go out seeking relationships. They go out seeking pleasure. Oh yeah. And we're gonna We're going to trigger some men today because they're not going to like that. Oh no, we care about love. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And the younger you realize this as a girl as well, by the way, the happier you will be. Because ladies, men do not give an F about you, and they never will. Because they are not wired to care about you. They are wired to feel fulfillment through doing things like providing and protecting. They get a hit of dopamine from doing those things. So when they take care of you and they do these manly things that they are supposed to do, that are their duties, they get a hit of dopamine. The happy hormones, they feel good. That's it. That's as far as it goes with a man. He's never going to feel anything else for you. He's not going to feel that undenying love that you've been taught in the fairy tales, that we've been taught as young girls growing up, that, you know, there's Prince Charming. There was nothing charming about Prince Charming. And all the princesses, they were silenced. They had to sacrifice things in order to be princesses. They were controlled. They were watched. The fairy tales really aren't fairy tales. And
so I think the most important part of what she's saying here is the prioritizing yourself part. And it sounds very simple, but you have to realize when you're going out, even in the dating world, even in your workplace, even in your family, the person whose happiness matters the most and will always matter the most before anyone else's is your own. And the number one thing you always have to be thinking about whenever you're analyzing a situation or what to do is, how do I serve my happiness first before I serve anyone else's? I was helping a woman today, not in coaching. Obviously, you guys know I don't do coaching, in a private question. And in the private question, she had a situation, I won't go into detail, but she had a situation where she was essentially worried about how she was going to deal with this guy who had blocked her, even though he was the one who mistreated her and disrespected her. So now she's like, well, I don't know why he has a problem with me, and I don't know what to do now because we're in the same friend group and we're supposed to be cool. And I told her, as I would tell any of you, it doesn't matter what a guy thinks who disrespected you. And you can't be worrying yourself about being likable or easygoing that you don't want to disrupt the friend group because you don't want them to see or notice that you're ignoring him or not talking to him. You have to prioritize your own happiness and sanity and realize that if someone disrespects you, you don't owe them anything. And any one of your other friends who has a problem with you ignoring that guy who has disrespected you has a problem with you, and you don't need to be friends with them anyways. You can't live your life to please other people or to be as likable or as possible, because you only end up being very repulsive to everyone that you come across because you're trying so desperately to get them to like you. You have to look out for your own happiness. And you also have to look out for the fact that if people disrespect you or mistreat you, that your sanity is more important than making them feel comfortable or not making them feel like you hate them. As silly as that might sound, okay? Right? All right, chat. Let's hop into our next segment here. It's an amazing segment, and those of you who know what's coming up, please spam it up in the chat and tell me if you know exactly what time it is. It's a very special time. It's an amazing time, and it's a time where you're going to laugh and cry. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your phone. Don't look nowhere else in your whole damn home. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. time. All right, chat. Let's hop into our favorite time of the day, Discord time, where all the amazing members of our Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their situationship or their relationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, let me explain to you the 3 different ways in which you can send me in a question. First way is by sending it to our free relationship advice forum section. Oh my God. What is this? Free relationship advice section, and you can ask your question there. You can drop it in there simply by going to the link in my description on YouTube, going to our Discord, and then going to the relationship advice forum and dropping in your question. Now, you see some of these are highlighted because I haven't gotten to them, and I have to answer these first before I can get to your question. So if you haven't dropped in your question, when you drop in your question, I won't be able to answer it today, but there is a version where you can get your question answered as soon as possible and get to skip the line of people, and that is through our premium relationship advice section. It's also in our Discord, except in order to get access to this and put your question in here, you gotta go to the link in my description where it says premium Discord relationship advice. You click that, you donate to the show, then you go and you type in your Discord username and the title of your question. You drop your question in there after you donate to the show, and then I'm able to see on my phone that that's you. It's verification that that's your question and your question's supposed to be here, and then I read it out first before I go to the free questions, okay? The other thing here, let's see here, is the option to send in a private relationship advice question, and that you can do simply by going, the link is also in our Discord, but it's also in my description. Just click where it says private relationship advice, which a lot of you have been doing, and you can send me in a private relationship advice question, which doesn't get seen on the show. It doesn't get read out on the show or by anyone else. It only gets seen by me. I respond via your email, and I send you a voice message, and I send that back to you. It's usually like a 10-minute long voice message, okay? And I just did a whole bunch, so I caught all the way up on my private messages, so it won't take me very long to respond to you now if you ask me a question, okay? All right, let's hop into our first question here, which comes from Skate Girl 93, all right? Can't go no contact help. What do you mean you can't? Tomisin, first of all, you spelled my name wrong. It's Tomisin. I dated my ex for a year. He was very serious about me. I met his family and friends. He often talked marriage. Pineapples happened after a couple of months. Princess treatment still continued. Side note, he has a bit of local status. What do you mean by that? Like, he's known, like just around town? Okay. He initially introduced himself, but I kept my distance for a while because I was involved already. We eventually became exclusive. He began a slight pullback after a year. I broke it off in July due to his pullback and other minor concerns. I did not speak for 2 months. I did not speak for 2 months after. We both frequent a certain sports complex weekly. The sport is a passion of ours, and we both agreed that if we broke up, we would remain cordial because we would not stop participating in that sport. Okay? There are no other options for places to go or in that area. After 2 months, he approached me, kind of joked that I had not spoken to him. After that, he would reach out over text occasionally. I told him I was not mad at him, but wanted to give him some space. Then flirting started when we'd see each other, and I ended up at his house. What do you mean? Oh my God. What do you mean you ended up at his house? I just really don't understand. It's not some sort of accident. You don't just pop up at his place, okay? You don't just magically appear at his place. You chose to go there. I don't like this type of stuff. I don't like this type of stuff. That was about 6 weeks ago. I have not gone over since. So why did you go that time? We still hug, say hello at the sports complex. We even were partners in the sport we like we used to be at one point. Wait, what? We were even partners like we used to be at one point. It seems that we are both trying to get the other to pursue. I want to give it another shot, but I still don't want to pursue. You shouldn't pursue. When we hooked up several weeks ago, we agreed to see what happens. I actually suggested it. Now he is trying to breadcrumb me. Oh man, they never learn. Okay, let's. I don't know where to start. Let me just do the stretch first. I don't know where to start. Oh boy, I need some sort of like back massager to just be on whenever I get stressed out like this, because I don't really. Boy, I don't really understand. Sometimes I don't really understand. Oh boy. I just don't I don't get, like, okay. What is bringing you back here? Is what I'm trying to understand here and see what you mean. Okay? Because I don't really understand what it is that you're gaining from going back to hooking up. Let me make sure I get back to my place here. Right? I don't understand what you're gaining here or what you're trying to re-explore here. Okay? We hooked up several weeks ago, agreed to see what happens. That means I agreed to waste my time. I actually suggested it. You suggested that you want to waste your own time. That's what you suggested to him. Now he is trying to breadcrumb me. He hints at us going on dates, but never makes plans. I wonder why. Probably because you suggested you guys hooking up, but just seeing what happens. He is very much an alpha. The same alpha that you had to... He tried to get me back to his house on the days we see each other at the complex. So basically when it's most convenient for him. I have made up excuses, but always acted very sweet. So, okay, what's the point of what you're doing here? How can I get him to pursue without being able to go full no contact? I feel like he gets an ego boost from me just giving him a hug or being cordial. I want to cut that off so he will have no choice but to invest in order to get my attention. I'm just not sure how. Can you give me a game plan? What you're literally saying here, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but what you're literally saying here is super contradictory because you're saying, I don't want to go full no contact in order to get him to pursue me. But you're also saying that even the smallest thing, like giving him a hug or being cordial, you think is an ego boost to him. So you're essentially saying, I don't want to go full no contact, but any sort of communication with him is not going to work because that's going to give him the ego boost that he needs to not feel like he needs to make a change. So you're actually answering your own question while simultaneously trying to ignore your own answer because you're literally saying full contact is the way to go. Full no contact, is the way to go because doing anything cordial or even giving him a hug is too much of an ego boost. So then don't do that anymore. Don't be cordial. Don't give him no hug and just completely ignore him. Now, I'll be honest with you. You're going to look very silly, right? You're going to look silly, but it's a necessary step to getting what you want if you want to get there. You're going to look silly because you're the same one who was recommending that you guys hook up and see what happens. And then very quickly you realize that was a very stupid thing to do or even suggest. Because why you're literally suggesting to him, why don't you use me and not commit to me and get access to me without ever giving me anything in return? You actually suggested, it's like saying, please take my $100 from me out of my pocket, steal from me, take all of my money so I have no money to live and I have to be homeless on the street, right? That's essentially what you're saying to him. And he's like, sure, I'll take all your money and I'll pocket this for free for nothing. So it's like, what's the point? And the reason I say all that is because you're at a place now where the only option, if you really want some respect here, is to pull yourself all the way back. I'm not saying you can't go to your same sports complex that you guys both go to, but if you go there, you ignore him completely. Don't go over and talk to him. Don't give him no hug. Don't worry about being cordial. And this is part of the problem. You need to serve your own happiness first. And if you're not happy with the way that things are going in this relationship or in this situation, then you need to realize that if you want to see something different and you want him to have some respect for you, the way to get your respect is not by sitting around and allowing him to continue to get access to you in a way that will make him feel like he doesn't have to make a change. So when you go no contact and you're cold with him, and you completely ignore him even when you see him at the sports complex, he'll be forced to make one of two decisions. Either he's going to have to realize, in order for me to get access to her, I'm actually going to have to put my best foot forward and date her. Or he's going to realize, you know what, it's not that big a deal anyways, and I don't want to date her. So if she's not going to talk to me, I'll just move forward with my life. And what I want you to understand is either one of those options that he chooses are both good for you. Because either he'll begin pursuing you and actually try to get serious with you, even though I doubt that will happen. Or number two, he'll eventually say, I'm wasting time even trying to continue to talk with her or have conversation with her. I should just leave her alone. That's still good for you because then you rid yourself of someone who is not serious about dating you anyways. Okay? Because the reality of it is there is no version of, anything you can say or do or text him or any dress you can wear or going to the sports complex in your tightest pair of jeans that he sees your dump truck and now he magically realized that he wants to date you. It's not going to work. Okay. Especially if he hasn't been showing you that he has that desire to date you anyways. And especially when you've been offering yourself to him for what is essentially like free. Okay. So you have to realize pulling yourself away from him and withdrawing yourself from him is the only way to get some sort of difference of response here. Any other way aside from that is not going to yield you a result. You're just going to keep going in the same circle over and over again. All right. Let's go on to our next question here. Oops. Make sure we got it going right here. Make sure I didn't skip anything. This one was already done. This was just a little response here. That one, I think that was posted up in our premium. All right, let's go to this question. So, T Hat says, I can't lose my job for him. Oh boy, I hope you don't. I'm 29, he's 38. We are business partners and we work at we're business partners and our work makes me contact him every day to get the final approval to sign deals. Any work that comes in, I need to call him about it. 4 or 5 works can come in a day. You mean like 4 or 5 like approvals can come in a day? And he must be aware with my call either 4 or 5 times a day. We've been dating for a year now. Oh boy. I need to call him first thing in the morning to get approvals of the previous job. Even on weekends, we still work on, pended work of the week? What? I don't know what that means. What is pended work of the week? Is that even a word, chat? The more I target I meet, the more money I get, which he's also aware of. At times, he smiled on the phone like, T-Hat, you love money a lot. Note, Tomisin, all our job is on the phone. I work from home. We don't usually see, I think you might say, each other in person. I'm not happy because the nature of our job does not give him room for him to call me first because he's also sorting other people's jobs. But anytime I call, I don't tell him I love you or any romantic talk, strictly business, and he attends to them ASAP. Tomisin, I'm scared of losing values because I do the calling, which I've got no choice, and the money must be made from the business. Because being placed in the calling department, he does the calling first thing in the morning to check up. Before being placed in the calling department, he did the calling first thing in the morning to check up on me. Now that it's my time, my job time is related. Now that my job is time related, and I need to call him ASAP as work comes in, I'm scared that he doesn't get tired, that he'll get tired of our relationship. Now I go around doing business callings at the same time in my feminine energy. How do I go about doing business callings at the same time in my feminine energy? Tomisin, please help. Someone said, is he your pimp? Okay, you're funny. All right. So, T-Hat, okay, I have to be honest with you. You're in a special situation that is unfortunate, but I don't want to be mean. You have to realize what you're getting yourself into, especially when you start dating someone you're working with. There's always going to be a drawback towards that. You start dealing with someone that you like spending your time with and you're dating them and you're working with them, you're seeing them at work and you're coworkers. It's great, even business partners, it's great until, the relationship's not going so well and you still have to be business partners. Unfortunately, this is just the nature of your job. So there's nothing I can say or do that is going to stop you from not having to do the job of having to call him except for do a different job, which is just not realistic. Now, the other side to that is you're asking me, how do you do the business and at the same time do the callings in your feminine energy? Unfortunately, the job is not about being in your feminine energy. The job is about doing the job. So the best way for you to deal with this is to compartmentalize it, meaning you're going to have to say to yourself, okay, if I'm doing this job, I have to obviously do the job well in order to make money. But aside from the job, right, I'm not going to be having conversations about my relationship or, us on the job. And you approach it with that level of professionalism. I know that sounds really cold and really weird to do, but you're in a weird situation. And if you're in a weird situation, especially in a situation where you're working with the person that you're in a relationship with, you have to set boundaries. And you have to set really hard and strange boundaries where you almost don't treat it like a relationship when you're at work. And once you clock out, then you're back in a relationship. Because if you don't treat it like that, the lines will become so blurred that you don't really understand, is this romantic time or is this non-romantic time? Are we boyfriend and girlfriend or are we co-workers and business partners now? There needs to be a very clear establishment and a very clear line of the difference between the two. And if you're going to do this right, that's the only way to go about it, because you can't do anything about having to call him, right? Because that's part of the job. And you can't do anything about being business partners or working. I'm assuming, it's not easy for you to just get up and say, I'll change my job. But honestly, my advice to you is to eventually change your job. Not because I don't think that your relationship with him is going to work out, but I think that you'll probably save your relationship by not working with the person who you're dating, especially when you feel like it's putting you in a position where you're constantly going to have to reach out to him and it's making you feel like you won't be able to be in your feminine that way. I'm not saying you're wrong in feeling that, but what I am saying is you work that job and he's your business partner. So what are you supposed to do? Not work the job? Not call him when it's tied to your money and your earnings? It's just not realistic. You're going to have to deal with it, but in order to deal with it, you're going to have to compartmentalize it and be very strict with those boundaries, even if that means having a conversation with him about the fact that you guys don't talk about anything personal when it comes to those work calls. I know that sounds strange, but if you want to really set boundaries and you want to still have the romance in your relationship, even though you're working together, there are going to have to be some very, very clear boundaries, okay? Let's go on to our next question here. Oops, why did I click that? I didn't mean to do that. Okay. This says, how should texting communication be when you're losing long distance? We are countries and time zones apart. He does initiate 90% of the time. What's the etiquette here from a female side when texting long distance? You guys know how I feel about long distance. Okay, texting communication here, I'll be real with you. When it comes to long distance, my advice stays the same. My advice to you is to allow the men to come to you. My other piece of advice is that your long distance, the dates that you go on, obviously you can't have in-person dates. So what you want to do is you want to treat phone call dates like you would in-person dates. What you want to start doing is planning and scheduling your your phone call conversations. So if you know that every Friday at 9 p.m. you're free because you have nothing left to do, and that's the time where you can have conversation over the phone, that should be a time, and this is even something that you should bring up. This is something that he should bring up. That should be the time where you guys schedule that time out and have your conversations the same way you would go out on a date for 2 hours, you have a conversation for 2 hours. Okay? And that should be the bulk of your communication, is trying to do everything on the phone, meaning phone call, or on FaceTime. And the texting is just a little bit of communication throughout the day. But if you're really serious about long distance, the phone calls and the FaceTime should be regularly scheduled throughout the week, where not only are you guys saying, I'm going to call you at this time, but I'm actually going to be making sure that I do nothing at this time so that I can have all my focus on you at this time period. Okay? Right? And you're also saying we live in different countries and we live time zones apart and things like that. But here's the reality. Texting is not going to suffice for a relationship ever in any capacity. So if you know that all you can really do is text, you can't phone call because you're up at different times, then at some point you have to realize that the logistics of this relationship just don't make sense. I get it. You're saying he initiates 90% of the time. Also, my question to you is, in the process of that initiation, is he initiating coming to see you ever? Is he talking about that? Are you planning the logistics of actually making that happen? Because the truth of the matter is, a guy who's really serious about you in a long distance relationship with you will have a desire to come and see you in person. And if he doesn't, it's usually because his interest level in you isn't very high. And I don't want that for you. Okay, let's go on to our next question here. Make sure I get to these as much as I can. All right, this was our last one. Okay, I don't like my... Okay. I am dating a guy that likes me thanks to your advice, but every guy I've dated, he asked to do butt stuff, and they haven't said anything bad about my vajayjay. But they have all asked to do butt stuff. And I think it's because my vajayjay is ugly. Oh boy. My vulva protrudes out of my coochie like 1 to 2 centimeters out. I hope all of our younger audience is gone. We're in after dark time, okay? I've seen women in corn, and they all have perfect vajayjays, and I don't know what to do. Okay, Hannah. Here's the thing. You can't. Oh wow. Let me take a stretch first, because I honestly I don't know I don't know what I was expecting in this question, but it honestly wasn't that. Let me just take a stretch and a drink of water, and I'll come back to you in a second after I just have a moment to think about what you just said. Okay? We're definitely in the after dark here. All right. Okay, let me stretch my back and stuff. Oh boy, I need like a Gatorade. All right, you guys take the electrolytes out of me. All right. You're in a position here, Hannah, where there's certain things that you just can't control. Okay? Someone said 1 to 2 centimeters. How did you measure it? Well, let's not even get into that. I don't know. Let's just assume she knows the size. At the end of the day, you can't control your vulva protruding out. You can't. You're not going to tuck it in. You're not going to paint it. You're not going to do makeup on it. It is what it is. You have to realize that you're working with what you're working with, and there's a certain extent where you just can't change that. And as weird as it sounds, the more confident you are with yourself and your own body, the less it will bring attention to your insecurities. And I know you're thinking in your mind, maybe the men care that much. But for the most part, men aren't. This is going to be really graphic. We're in After Dark, guys. for the most part, men aren't staring at your vajayjay the entire time that they're, jackrabbiting themselves inside of you. Okay. They're usually going to be looking at your face. They're going to be looking at your yitties if they're not sucking on them, or they're going to be hitting it from the back. So all of those things mean that they're not like staring at it like a gynecologist. My point being is, I think you're thinking of it more of a problem than it actually is. Now, this butt stuff thing could honestly just be a function of two things. Could either be you have a really big booty, maybe they enjoy that, and that's enticing them that you have a big booty. And number two, it could honestly just be a coincidence that the guys that you like end up enjoying butt stuff. I couldn't tell you how often men enjoy butt stuff like this, because obviously I'm a man and I only know what I like, but it could be a lot. Chat, you can tell me, do a lot of guys that you encounter enjoy butt stuff and ask you for butt stuff? That could be a common theme, right? And maybe amongst the type of guys that you like, it just so happens to be a common theme. I don't think it's necessarily related to what your vulva looks like and whether or not it's protruding, because I feel like that would just not be the approach that men would take. And I think it would have to be really repulsive somehow, which I don't think it is. I don't know, but I don't think it is, for men to say, oh, wow, I really don't even want to stick my pee-pee in there. Because rest assured, I'll just be honest with you, men will stick their pee-pee in a lot of strange places, if you didn't already know that. So I don't think that your vulva projecting or protruding out 1 to 2 centimeters is the difference between them wanting to penetrate you or not. I really just don't. Okay. Someone says, yes, a lot of them like butt stuff. Okay. Hey, there you go. So the reason I say that is I know that it's a concern of yours, but I think that you're reading a bit more into it than even the guys are. I just can't imagine that when they're super horned up and they're ready to go and they want to be with you and sleep with you, I don't think that they're really studying your insides as much as you think they're studying your insides. I guarantee you they probably couldn't even draw out your squirtle, your vagina, I can't say it, if they wanted to, because I just don't think they're paying that much attention to it. I just be honest with you. Most guys don't even know where your clit is, let alone pay attention to the whole structure of your insides there. It's just not happening. So someone said veggie, and it's just a reality. And I have to be honest with you. So I get it. It's a problem for you, but you can't change that. And you're not going to be like the girls you watch on Corn. So you're better off just working with who you are and realizing that the guy who you are going to be with will accept you for all the protrusion of your vulva that you have. And any guy who doesn't accept that ain't no guy that you want anyways. This is one of the strangest questions we've ever had. All right, chat, that's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, please send in your question via our regular relationship advice section or our premium relationship advice forum. Or if you want to ask me a private question just to me and you don't want anyone else to see it, go ahead and ask me a private relationship advice question. The link is in my description on YouTube. For those of you who want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head. On the top left corner of the screen, it's just Tomisin_Atobatele. You can follow me there. For those of you, I guess there is no rewatching of the show because none of you guys are on TikTok. You're all on YouTube. So you're here and you can rewatch it. It'll be in the live section finished for you to watch there. I'm here every weekday, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to figure out what time that is in your time zone, you just got to Google it. So I'm not going to be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's obviously the weekend. And then I'm going to be back again on Monday. All right. For those of you who want to watch me, I'm going to be posting all throughout the weekend on my YouTube channel, on my main page. And come Monday, I will have my new computer and we will be getting this thing started, getting to do a lot of fun stuff since I'm going to be having everything all set up with my new computer. No more technical difficulties, no more glitches and things like that. By the way, thank you so much to Great Fortune Cookie who donated 50 DKK. I don't know what that currency is, but thank you very much. Any areas of life where we want the guy to think that we are more competent than he is, where he adds to our femme and reinforces his masculine energy. Yeah, I would say Great Fortune Cookie, the best places for that to be is in the places where you're an expert. So for example, let's say you're a marine biologist and you have a really good understanding of animals, right? That's a great place for you to be an expert and teach him things and show him things about life or about the animals that you study and things like that. That's a great way to do it while still being in your feminine energy, but it's okay to be an expert in a place that you study the most or is your career, right? And that usually will never yield you a bad result. Now, like I always said with the other thing, it's not about playing dumb all the time, and it's not about trying to be the dumbest possible version of yourself all the time. It's about understanding that strategically, getting what you want sometimes isn't about trying to show someone how much smarter you are than them, but it's about is about presenting a situation to them and playing dumb as if you don't know what the solution is, and allowing your man to put two and two together, and then you get the same solution you were going to suggest anyways. You just allow him to think of the solution. Okay, that's essentially what it is. Nicole donates $5 in the YouTube chat. She says, "You're the best. God bless you. Have an awesome weekend." Have an awesome weekend. Those of you, all of you as well. I'm gonna make sure I get this all right for the weekend. You guys seen in my Discord what my setup looks like. I'm gonna make sure I get all these wires and cables set up for you guys with all the new stuff that we get. We're gonna have guests on the show. We're gonna have so much stuff coming up now with my new computer and all these good, amazing resources from the show that's gonna get put back into the show. So glad for us to do that. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy life. Have fun. Don't have too much fun. Have just enough fun that you don't have to send in a Discord question because it was tragic. Have good fun, safe fun, loving fun, and I'll see you again next weekend. All right? Goodbye. Arrivederci, au revoir, hasta la vista, sayonara, adios, ciao, salam, bon voyage! And I'll see you again on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you so much. Okay. I see you again very, very soon. All right?